the first 11 years I lived in the village, I lived like 3 or 4 houses up from Wilson Drive. And I can tell you, I mean, at least once a day, there's emergency vehicles. And I mean, I won't say it's uniformly fire trucks, it's more often ambulances, but I don't recall seeing a lot of big trucks. Now, there was a trucker who used to park his truck over on the west side of the street. So I don't know. I just if we're going to talk about something, if we're going to make the level of truck traffic, okay, I support the asphalt roll, so okay. But if we're going to talk about data, then you know we need to be clear. Did we actually go and measure, or are we just giving our opinions?
Maybe their DOT collects it. They're not giving it.
I don't think DOT collects it. I've never seen any record of truck traffic on that, but I also agree with the overall cost. I mean, I hear what you're saying about that concrete is longer lasting and like you should be looking at the entire life cycle of the road. But you know, that I agree that the cost of this project is getting way higher than any of us, I think, originally thought. So.
Okay, any other trustees have comments? Any other questions?
No, I appreciate all the care and consideration and looking at it from all angles.
Did you make a motion?
Okay. All right, well, we have a motion and a second, so it's a standard vote. So all those,
Yeah,
you
I
have a
made a
motion
motion
and a second, right?
and it was second.
Okay.
So the motion is for asphalt?
Yeah, could you repeat the motion, please? And we're gonna have a second. Sorry.
Trustee Zovic moved to authorize staff to work with Grafe to continue on with
Proceed with the design, the
something
engineering
in design of an asphalt
Yes.
pavement on Wilson Drive.
Okay, second. Second, is that done? Okay, great. So all those in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Okay, motion carries 5-1.
The second item that we discussed was those three elements that we see in the cover memo from Leanne on the landscape design, the north entry medians to have a more formal design. That is an entryway into the village. Leanne had expressed, and Grafe had as well brought that through their designs, the concept of that entry gateway. In the early discussions with the public, there were a number of comments about wanting to have the appropriate look and visual statement as people enter the village. So the north entry medians would be a more formalized landscape design. We had some photos of that. The median area in Alpine, olive to Alpine, would progress with the bio retention and the west side planting where there's bio retention to go with the native seed as opposed to a landscape. And that was based on both, as Trustee Maher reminded us, there were some comments from citizens about both the desire and the lack of necessity for, that it's neither desired nor necessary to make the west side a beautiful formal planted garden. And as well, when we use the costing tables that Ray provided, you can see that the differentials from a unit perspective, unit cost perspective, that having more landscape bio retention as opposed to native seed bio retention is more more expensive. And for Olive to Alpine, what did we say there? I know we had the formalized landscape at the north entry, the native seed on the west side, and we stayed with the native seed
Landscape
No,
bio.
landscape.
the landscape bio, thank you, and Olive, the thought there, that's right, the thought there was in the median rather than these bio swales, these basins look like just wild grass, that some planted, appropriately selected materials would be a little bit more formal without being formal. I don't think we can make a stormwater basin look like a formal garden, but it's not just wild grasses. So with that, I would move that to approve the median landscape treatment as presented in our memo. That being formalized landscape in the north entry median, a landscape bioretention from Olive to Alpine, and the native seed bioretention on the west side planting areas.
Second.
I had one request that I wanted to see information on. The median between Alpine and Olive, it came at a later point. Originally, they were just these pedestrian, what do we call those, stops, yeah, islands, thank you. And then we've expanded it based on the citizen resident feedback and more discussion, which I'm very excited about that has happened. To me, if you take away the basin, the stormwater basin part of that segment, it's cheaper. I don't know how much, but we didn't have costs to compare. But since we're doing trees at one end and trees on the other, so this is called the more formal landscaping, on both gateways, I just thought the middle area, it would be cheaper and it would make sense to explore taking away the stormwater basin there. Now, that sounds like I'm not being environmentally friendly, so I just want to explain why the trade-off there. One, the trees would provide more shade on the asphalt, so it would help to combat some of that heat island effect, which is an environmental concern, very similar to stormwater management. And then the stormwater management, we had multiple discussions that the west side, because we're dedicating so much land in the narrowing of the road, which is a great thing, for gaining land for more stormwater management, we're not, according to the plan we saw at the open house, and that's the last one I have seen, there wasn't any new materials today. That whole west side it's not right now planned for detention basins, because we still have snow there. But once we move some snow off of Wilson, we will be able to have more stormwater retention basins. I don't know the correct technical term, so I apologize, but more of these things that catch the stormwater and filter it. And so just to be consistent, make it a little more of a consistent road pattern, I did want to explore just doing the more formal landscaping in the middle, which is a little cheaper, and then putting the money more on the west side to be consistent with all of our detention ponds and whatever else we're building there. So there is room for more, so it's not like we would be taking, and Trustee Zovic made a great point. He said, I'd like to do both. And yes, me too. But if we're sticking within the funds that are allocated at this moment in the budget in front of us, then that would be one of the trade-offs. So that was my request.
Any other comments or recommendations? Yeah?
One of the concerns we have, in addition to cost, is stormwater management. And are we assuming that all these different options, the formal, the semi-formal, the native, are all the same in terms of how much stormwater they absorb? They're all equal. Okay,
They're not.
it seems, what?
I'm sorry, they are not.
They're not?
No.
In the basins, in the medians.
My understanding of the northern medians, the gateway area, is that would be more of a traditional type landscaping. That would not be
Right.
considered bio, and that would not be a stormwater type structure.
That's not our question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my question was, are all these different options for these three different areas the same in terms of stormwater management, but they're not?
I would say my understanding is that the two bio areas, the landscape bio and the native seed bio, would perform similarly in terms of stormwater retention. But they would not be similar to the gateway at the north, the more native type.
Without the vent basin, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I'm also, it also seems like we're doing different, I'm not sure how different the west side and the south boulevard are, I mean, those sound more similar looking, like similar plants, or are they gonna look dissimilar?
I think they will have quite different looks. The west side would be more like the picture in your packet that is titled Native Seed. I believe that's the title.
Yeah.
Where the Olive through Alpine Boulevards would look more like one of the,
Landscaped bioretention.
correct.
So the bioswales we have now at Olive and Alpine, so would that be what the Boulevard Olive Alpine, would it be similar to that?
The Olive bio
Yeah.
is pictured in your packet. So
Oh,
that
that's
would be a similar look to landscape bio median.
The South Boulevard.
Right.
Okay.
The boulevard, the median that currently exists on Alpine and Wilson is
Mhm.
not a stormwater feature at all.
But all of
That's
this.
simply aesthetic, yes.
Okay. Okay, my concern is that we have three different landscape designs. We have, it looks here in the north boulevard like they're annuals. I don't know if they are or not, but it looks like low plant, you don't have to answer. But my point is that we're having three different kind of landscape treatments, and do we not want some kind of unity to this roadway instead of driving down and having, I mean, we're already having, a boulevard, a narrow boulevard, we're already having a change in the roadway design, and I would think it would be nice from a design perspective to have a similar treatment all the way through. Just as a personal thing, I'm not crazy about the formal gateway. I mean, I don't know that too many people, Lake I could see, well, that's a gateway to Shorewood. I don't know. I'm not sure that location merits a formal landscaped type of thing, and given that it is getting us less, it's not getting us any closer to our goal that we're going to have for stormwater management under upcoming DNR regulations. We had a big gap there of how much we need to do in terms of stormwater. So that's yet another reason why I would not be in favor of the North Boulevard having this kind of formalized treatment. And I would like to see a more consistent landscape design throughout the whole corridor.
Okay.
Thank you. Leanne, I think that kind of was what I was getting at with let's at least keep the median treatments very similar. If we did do the non-stormwater basin in the median between Olive and Alpine, would the grading then for all of the middle of the road, would it all be consistently graded to the west? Because all the other middle portions, I believe, drain to the west.
I would believe that would be the case, that
Would
they
we-
would redo the plans and profiles.
Right, because, medians, to do it this way, so I guess what I'm asking, my technical question is there a cost savings to keeping the grading consistent throughout the road, from the majority of the road except the ends?
I'm sure there is some, though I would guess it's probably minimal. I don't, what I mean by that is if you ask them to redo a cost estimate based on that change, I don't think you'd see anything.
Okay. Because Because if there was, even minimal, I don't believe there's a retention pond on the west in that location, correct? I wish I had the map, I'm sorry.
In the
So
areas
if we
of
did
the,
drain it to the west, not to lose that detention, to get us closer to our goal, could you put a pond there? I'm just wondering, like, make it consistent?
well, just to be clear, we're not putting ponds in,
I don't mean ponds, whatever.
but a bio.
Thank you.
If I recall correctly, that area west of the median area that we're talking about, the parkway on the west side, was what they had earmarked for the water council demonstration area. And so that was a little more fluid.
All right, trustee, okay?
I agree with trustee Amenta's comments about the north gateway. You know, I don't consider myself a design expert by any means, but it doesn't, it seems like